Good evening, everyone. Time is now 6:30, and I'd like to call this meeting, Alton City Council, to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
McAfee. Here. Strable.
Here.
Brown. Here. Bragg.
Here.
Elliott. Keener.
Here.
Campbell.
Here.
7 ayes, no nays, no absent.
Thank you. At this time, everyone stand. Pledge to the flag, led by Madam Mayor Pro Tem.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Number 4, we have the reading of proclamations and recognitions, and there are none this evening. Number 5 is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting on January 26, 2022. I need a first and a second to place on file.
So moved.
Second.
First by Alderman Keener, second by Alderwoman Brown. Chair so ordered. Number 6, communications. I see there are none. Number 7, report of officers. Building and Zoning December 2021 permit report. Building and Zoning 2021 yearly report. Need a first and a second to place on file.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Keener, second by Alderman Strable. Chair so ordered. Next we have the report of the Standing Committee, number 8, and turn this over to Alderwoman McAfee.
Number A, Committee of the Whole Meeting Report for February 7th, 2022. I make a motion to place on file.
Second.
Number A, Resolution Refinance Committee bills be allowed and payment be made. I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Make the motion, I'm sorry. I make the motion. You
Second.
do second. Sorry. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Campbell.
Aye.
McAfee.
Aye.
Strable.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Elliott.
Aye.
Keener.
Aye.
7 ayes, no nays, no absent.
Number B, a resolution approving a request to sell or serve alcohol at the annual dinner auction and gala at Marquette Catholic High School. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Campbell.
Aye.
McAfee.
Aye.
Strable.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Elliott.
Aye.
Keener.
Aye.
7 ayes, no nays, no absent.
Resolution C, approving request to sell or serve alcohol at the annual trivia night at Marquette Catholic High School. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Please.
Aye.
McAfee. Strable. Brown.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Elliott.
Aye.
Keener.
Aye.
7 ayes, no nays, no absent.
Number D, resolution authorizing the closure of State Street to facilitate the annual St. Patrick's Day celebration. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Campbell.
Aye.
McAfee.
Aye.
Strable.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Elliott.
Aye.
Keener.
Aye.
7 ayes, no nays, no absent.
Number E, resolution be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Alton that the attached ordinance granting a variance for improvement constructed within Riverfront Park to be considered and is hereby approved. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Campbell.
Aye.
McAfee.
Aye.
Strable.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Bragg. Elliott.
Aye.
Keener.
Aye.
7 ayes, no nays, no absent.
Number F, resolution be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Alton, Illinois, that the mayor and appropriate city officials are hereby authorized and directed to execute any necessary documents to effectuate the sale of 624 Shepherd Street. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Campbell.
Aye.
McAfee.
Aye.
Strabel.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Bragg. Elliott.
Aye.
Keener. 7 ayes, no nays, no absent.
Number G, resolution be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Alton, Illinois, that the City of Alton awarded construction contract for the project to the lower bidder, and that the mayor is hereby authorized and directed to execute the construction contract and any other such documents related to advancement and completion of said project. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Campbell.
Aye.
McAfee.
Aye.
Strabel.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Bragg. Elliott.
Aye.
Keener.
Aye.
7 ayes, no nays, no absent.
Number H, report and resolution be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Alton, Illinois, that the best bid for 721, 723, and 725, 727 East 6th Street, 1010 Alton Street, 2024 Booker Street, 1918 Piesaw, 1036 Union, be awarded for bid number 2022-03 for the Building and Zoning Department. I make a motion to approve.
I second.
Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Campbell. McAfee.
Aye.
Strabel.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Elliott.
Aye.
Keener.
Aye.
7 ayes, no nays, no absent.
Number I, bid report and resolution be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Alton that the best bid for 808 Arch Street be awarded for bid number 2022-04 for the Building and Zoning Department. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Aye.
McAfee.
Aye.
Strabel.
Aye.
Brown. Bragg.
Aye.
Elliott. Keener.
Aye.
7 ayes, no nays, no absent.
Okay, thank you. Number 9, first reading of ordinances, Mayor Pro Tem. I see there are none. Second reading of ordinances.
There is none.
Number 11, resignations. There are none. 12, appointments. There are none. And I completely forgot. I apologize. I was supposed to move you all up to the first. And I just automatically went into my mode. But at this time, we're going to have Sheffel and Boyle come with their report on the audit.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Not a problem.
Okay.
You all were quick, and so
Yeah,
hopefully
it's
I can
pretty
do the
fast.
same
It was
for
pretty
you.
fast tonight, yeah.
So, good evening. My name is Josh Andres. I'm with Sheffel Boyle. I am the principal over the audit engagement, and with me back there this evening is Tyler Jackson. He is sort of the manager over the engagement and does a lot of the field work time. So, we are presenting this evening the audit report for March 31st, 2021. So I believe most of you or all of you should have received a nice big packet like this. We are not, thankfully, going to go through every page in this booklet. Everybody should have been handed a 3-page sort of cliff notes version here that we're going to cover. That the first page gives page numbers and a little general description of what you can find on those page numbers. And then the next 2 pages after that give a brief overview and comparison between some numbers that we find relative to the city from year-end 2021 versus year-end 2020. And so, again, this is a snapshot as of March 31st. Obviously, things change drastically as the days go by. So we have to remember we're referring back to this period, and things may be different as of today than they were here. So we're going to focus on this little handout, and then I have another letter just to briefly talk about and a few things. But overall, we do appreciate the relationship with the city and the ability to come in here and perform the annual audit. We seem to have worked well with, a magnitude of people, and we have to, reach out to a lot of people during this engagement. And so we do and are thankful for their help in, getting this accomplished as well. Obviously, last year there was some changes in positions that we were dealing with through this process, and, I feel like, overall, everybody did a nice job of being able to step in and take that on to be able to get us where we needed to be. And so hopefully going forward, this process will be much smoother and, will be a little bit more advanced in the time frame going forward. So first thing, a couple of things I wanted to cover are, on that first page of the handout, there's pages 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. This is really what Shuffle Boyle's purpose is for this audit report. Everything else that is within this audit report is really the City of Alton reporting. We are then to come in and gather enough support and evidence on the matter to be able to provide an opinion on the financial statements. But the financial statements and the numbers themselves are really the city's. So pages 1 and 2 are the independent auditor's report. And so if you have that big packet, I'll flip to those pages. If not, I'm just going to, read the opinion within the financial statement here. And it says, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of the governmental activities, business type activities, and other fund information as of the City of Alton as of 3/31/21. There's a few other words there, but that's the gist of it. But in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. And so that doesn't sound fantastic, but what that is the cleanest opinion that we can provide to the city. So that means we were able to gather the information we needed to be able to provide this opinion. There's other modifications that can happen if that doesn't happen, but we're happy to say that we were able to provide, an unmodified or clean opinion on this. The other letters I referenced, so in addition to our standard audit, we also do something that's called a single audit. And this happens whenever the city will expend more than $750,000 of federal funding in a particular year. The reason they call it a single audit is the government then tasks us to combine some procedures into our normal procedures, and so we've combined sort of multiple engagements down into one, and that's why they call it the single audit. The purpose of this is we have to give a couple reports on here on the internal control over financial reporting and give some feedback on that, as well as then we have to do specific testing on the federal funding. There's formulas we have to go through and meet certain thresholds, and based on the different funding that was received, we may pick different programs from year to year to do testing on those specific programs. Then we are to report if there were any findings or compliance issues in relation to those. And so we'll go through, that's what those next couple letters are. I'll touch on the findings. We did have some findings. Some are reoccurring findings that are not unnormal by any means. And then there were a couple just smaller items that we had that we reported in here. So I'll touch on those after we quickly go through some of these numbers here. So onto the second page. The page numbers there correspond on the left-hand side to the big full-bound audit report. And so this first set is page 15. And I'm not going to focus a whole lot of time here on pages 15 and 16. So these statements, pages 15 and 16, are presented on the full accrual basis of accounting. And that's not how most entities operate. They operate on either a modified accrual or a sort of semi-cash basis methodology when they budget and expend. And so, but the standards under GAAP require us to present these statements. And what these statements do is, so for things such as, you see several items listed there, fixed assets, deferred outflows, net pension liability, OPEB liability. So on pages 17 and on, those sorts of things aren't carried on the balance sheet. Those, your sort of fixed asset type expenditures, those are just expensed as incurred. So this is the standards way of trying to make the organization look at itself as an operational business and carry some of those things on the balance sheet. Probably the biggest thing of note that you've all heard many times before is that net pension liability in relation to the police and fire pension funds. You can see due to a better performance year as well as the substantial contributions that were made due to the sale of the sewer system over there, that pension liability did go down. And so this number is tough to know what's going to happen. It's an actuarial provided valuation, and based on their inputs and adjustments to interest rates and how the market's performing from year to year, this number, as some of you that have been here before, can skew largely from one year to the next. So one big dip doesn't mean hooray, and one big jump doesn't mean, oh my gosh, we're in trouble. That is just based on their calculations, and a good and profitable year from an investment standpoint can have a significant impact, or a poor year can have a significant impact. So that's probably the biggest number wanted to note there. Page 16, you can see in the comparison, the numbers are a little bit, skewed to a certain extent due to the sale of the sewer system in 2020. And so the numbers are, we see this big net transfer of $58 million coming in there, and that is in relation to that sale. So, but in the current year on that presentation, the change in net position, or if you want to refer to it as net income or net loss, it's similar to the same thing. It showed a net loss of $7.3 million for the current year. Again, those are on the full accrual statements. So on pages 17 and on, as I mentioned, these are the more modified accruals. So things as fixed assets, debt payments, those things are expensed as incurred. Your net pension liability, OPEB liability, those things aren't carried on the balance sheet as they are here. So a little bit different presentation. Really going to focus on the general fund here, but page 17, general fund, you can see the cash position as of 3/31 was $4.7 million versus $9.8 million, and we'll see here on a couple slides down, kind of why that change was the way it was. But overall fund balance was $13.4 million, and again, this was a decrease of $3.8 million from the prior year. Now, some of those funds are restricted, some are committed, some are assigned, so they have different purposes within the city and how they're to be utilized. So then page 19, so 17 was the balance sheet, and page 19 you can refer to really as the income statement. But overall revenues were $36.2 million in the current year versus $35.6 million in the prior year. So, not huge fluctuation there when you're talking those big numbers, but we did have some FEMA reimbursement, COVID reimbursement monies that came in, but then we also had, due to COVID, the casino being closed, so some of the gaming type revenues were significantly down. But overall, those kind of netted themselves out to fairly break even. From an expenditure standpoint, this is where you see the big difference between the 2 years. Again, there was 2-ish or $5 million transferred over to the police and fire pension fund out of the general fund in 2020. So you can see there's a $43.8 million decrease in expenses from 2020 to 2021. So, a bulk of that is made up of that not happening in the current year. So overall expenditures would have been fairly similar had you taken that piece out. Same with that net transfers, as mentioned above, there was the $58 million in the prior year, which did not happen in the current year. So in the current year, as I kind of mentioned above, the cash went down about $5 million and fund balance went down about $3.8 million in that general fund. So you can see sort of net loss within the general fund itself was 3.8, almost 3.9 million. So, and kind of to give a little bit more information there on how, that was made up in those revenues and expenses, sort of at the bottom here is a more detailed breakdown of a comparison on a line-by-line basis of the revenues received within the general fund, and then at the top of the next page is more of a breakdown on the expenditure side of things. again, as the gaming tax I mentioned, that was down about 1.3 million, so that's represented there. And then some of those other funds that I mentioned that were reimbursements under that other line was the increase of 1.7 million. So on the revenue side, kind of, made sense of those changes. And then on the expense side, again, on the top of that third and final page is the decrease in that public safety line item of the 43 million that we discussed on those contributions. So again, they're hard to compare from year to year because we had such a big thing going on in 2020 and more normalized than on regular operational things in 2021. So then on page 22, that was more of the general fund that we were discussing. This is referred to as the business type activity. So this would have been the sewer fund and then your marina fund. And so you can see there's nothing reported in the current year for the sewer fund because there wasn't anything. And then the prior year operationally we had that income. The marina fund, fairly consistent. I think one thing to note there is you can see in parentheses, kind of under operating loss, Alton Marina. Included in this is $258,000 of depreciation expense. So depreciation expense is really a non-cash transaction that's been expended on some sort of asset at some previous point in time and then is written off, throughout over its useful life. And that's what's coming through here. So kind of take that out because it's already been expended in the previous year. You really are looking at a net positive of about $30,000 in the current year. And then the fiduciary statements, these are the police and fire pension funds here. Just wanted to note on those. Again, we see some changes there due to some of that money coming in. And it's really on the investment side that you see that. That's not easily presented here. But the investment side, that money coming over and then invested in each of those funds to earn and hopefully drive down that net pension liability. So I know I ran through a lot of numbers really quickly, and probably thank you for doing so because I didn't want to hear any more. But does anybody have any questions related to the numbers? I'm gonna sure. Yeah,
thank you for preparing all this, and I did read it, so kudos to the author.
Yeah. Kudos to you.
So the net position there on page 2, bottom of the paragraph labeled page 15, that net position of $4,766,778, does that basically represent our deficit? Okay, so we ended fiscal 21 with about a $5 million deficit.
Correct. Again,
Thank
that
you.
is on the full accrual method. So again, that takes things such as fixed assets and depreciates them, or your liabilities like net pension liabilities and the swings and those sorts of things, or any bonds that are outstanding as you pay those down. Those are being represented on the balance sheet and handled slightly differently. So again, this isn't really easily presented maybe within this form, but on the sort of more modified accrual statements, which is page 19, there's a line in there where it shows total governmental funds, which includes general, motor fuel, your TIF funds, all of those type funds. It showed a net deficit of $2.866 million over there on the very right-hand side.
Okay.
So operationally, that's probably more in line with what you're accustomed to budgeting for and seeing on a regular basis. So that page is probably more gospel than pages 15 and 16 that we referred to. So
I already had it dog-eared.
okay.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So the last couple things I wanted to touch on, I had mentioned those findings, and it's required that we communicate those charged with governance, which is the board. And so I'm just going to run through those, and certainly we can talk about those, or I'll answer any questions as they come about. But the first couple are just general ones that have been repetitive findings, and we have in nearly every single one of our audit engagements. And so this is on page 82. If you do have the big booklet, is where it starts. And so the first one is, that we help or assist in preparing this booklet for the city. And so the standards say, as I mentioned, pages 1 through 6 are really Shuffle Boyle's portion of the audit. The rest is the city. So the standards really say the rest of those pages, the city should be able to hand us all of those pages, and we audit them. That doesn't really happen. Those are really big business type, that you're talking Ford, GM, they probably got a whole accounting department on staff that can whip this up in a heartbeat and hand it to us. The most of our clients don't have that personnel on staff to be able to keep up with the accounting standards as they change on a regular basis. So when we do assist in this preparation, we have to list it as such. So that's what that finding is in relation to. Finding number 2 is kind of in relation to that, and the fact that, because we present a couple different ways here with full accrual, modified accrual, we have to make a lot of journal entries to present that. So when we have to do that, again, it is a required sort of thing that we have to put within the financial statements as a finding. So that is, repetitive pretty much on a yearly basis for a majority of our clients that don't feel like it is cost beneficial to hire a CPA on staff or hire another CPA firm to put this together to have us come in and audit it. It just logically doesn't make sense and cost beneficial. There is no cost benefit for the city to do so. Item number 3 is in regards to the bank reconciliation process, and this has been in there the last couple of years, but we're happy to say that we already know that we're up to speed on those. So big thanks to Debbie for Dunlap for coming in and kind of getting that caught up. We had been behind for a couple of years, and so even though that was this at this time, so we had to report as such. We do know that that is in better shape as of today. So going forward, I would anticipate, barring other circumstances, that that wouldn't have to be there going forward. So, so that one is in there. This is one that has been in there as well in regards to there's some account aging reports that are produced within the city's records that. We don't see a normal and ongoing reconciliation process of that listing to ensure that those items that are on there are collectible by the city or real. And so we recommend that just that is done on a regular and ongoing basis. And so that has been addressed with management as well. So that is in relation to sort of the financial statements as a whole. And now we kind of move into a couple other findings here, more in relation to some compliance in the federal funding items. So as part of being, an entity, a public entity like the city, there are certain individuals within the entity that have to file economic interest statements on an annual basis. And so there's a due date of those, and so we have to check on that to ensure that those individuals filed those statements. So out of the 28 individuals, there were 4 that hadn't filed by the May 1st deadline, but after we checked subsequent to that, all of those had subsequently been filed. So they had all ultimately been filed, but we had to report as of the due date. Not all of them were there. Item number 6 is at the end of the year, there were 3 funds that had expenditures over its approved budget. Not uncommon, really, in governments to have this. Really what the standards say is, you're anticipating, and then if those, at the beginning when you put the budget together, and as those things or assumptions change along the way, amendments should be made to allow for those differences to where you're really giving proper approval of spending authority. And so when a particular fund goes over budget, we're just required to report that in the financial statements. Again, that is not atypical of, many governments, as, going through a formal amendment process can be cumbersome. And so sometimes, or if records, in certain situations, may tell one story, and so you're not anticipating that, and then, so happens that maybe something could be miscoded or misclassified and misrepresented that total to make you think that maybe you weren't over budget when you really were. So, so those things happen. And so then we did have one final matter that was item number 7, and that there was a contract that did not end up going out for bid that was expected to exceed the $3,000 limit. It just kind of continued on without the solicitation of bids. And so, again, in our mind, probably fairly easy to correct. Just make sure that bidding process goes on. So, overall, those are the findings here that we had in the current year, and we feel like that we've got some good things in place with Debbie and the ability to rectify some of these items going forward. And we already know one of them for sure is on the bank reconciliation that we're up to date. So this report also does present findings from the previous year. So if you were curious as to what it was in 2020, there's page 85 and 86. So it shows what the 2020 findings were as well. So you can see that some of those were the exact same and may continue to be so, especially in our assistance with the preparation of the financial statements.
You said 85 was 2020?
Correct.
Okay, because it says 2021 up there, so.
Yeah, well, we're presenting it for the year ended 2021,
Oh.
but the findings well.
20? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
They should all be labeled on that page 2020-001, 002, and then they will note if it is a reoccurring finding.
2020, okay,
It'll
my bad.
reference then what finding in 2021 it relates to. So number-wise, again, financial statement, that's what I wanted to cover. Certainly happy to entertain any questions on those. And if not, though, I have one more piece of required communication, and this is what we refer to as the SAS 114 letter. And that's just a standard reference, and that's why we call it as such. But again, this is required communications with those charged with governance, which is you all. And so this really just came about in relation to communication not always happening between auditor and those charged with governance. So the standards came out with a way to say, well, we're going to solve that. We're going to make you put it in writing now. And so what this does is it just goes through some general things. One being if we had to adopt any new accounting policies within the year. And so there were a few new standards that we implemented during the year. There was GASB 83, and that's GASB is Governmental Accounting Standard Board, which directs how we audit the organization. But there's 83, 84, and 88 that we implemented. So 83 was asset retirement obligations, really had no impact on the financial statements. 84 was in relation to some fiduciary activities and how they represent those in the financial statements. Minimal changes, but there was some insignificant changes related to that, mainly some definitional changes. And the same with 88, that was in relation to debt, and again, some just more definitional changes and wording changes within the financial statements. But it's required that we talk about those in there. So some other things are in relation to estimates that the city uses, and the biggest ones are in relation to the net pension liability and the OPEB liability, since there's actuarial valuations involved. Those are big estimates that are being put in the financial statements. If we had any misstatements of any kind, we attach the journal entries. So, those should be available to anybody that wanted to see the journal entries that we made throughout our audit process. And then if we had to contact any third parties of any kind and consult with them, we would have to note that in here. As well as if we had any major disagreements with management, we would be then forced to document those disagreements and then relay them to you all, which we did not. So that there's nothing in that part, in case you were curious. But then otherwise, that is all that is, within this letter, and it's really just to force that communication that maybe hadn't previously been happening before this standard was implemented. So I know I probably took longer than I expected, and I appreciate your patience, and thank you for the opportunity for coming tonight. And if anybody has any questions, as they're, reading this at home, laying in bed, I know everybody probably will. I'm always happy to answer questions for anybody, post this meeting if things arise or that you're confused about. Mayor knows how to get a hold of me, Debbie, Cheryl, a lot of people know how to get a hold of me, so always feel free, and we're more than happy to answer any of those questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, at this time, we need a motion and a second to place the audit for the city of Alton on file.
I'll make a motion to place the audit on file.
Second.
Motion by Alderwoman Elliott, second by Alderman Keener. Chair so orders. 14. 14, public forum addressing city business.
Mr. Mayor, we have one request. It's from Samuel Lloyd. He wants to talk, it's official of capacity, is about one specific address. The property is 610 East 4th Street. He wants to talk about the condemned, the tree damage, infestation, and a few other things. I make a motion that we give him 5 minutes.
Second.
Okay.
Hello, thanks for having me. I'm here today to discuss the state of the 610 East 4th Street property in Alton. Since I moved to my current residence at 612 East 4th Street in December of 18, the 610 property has been condemned. The 610 property has had an open hole in the rear roof, currently 3 foot by 1 feet wide for several years now. The fascia, soffit, shingles, other debris always constantly fall from this house into the surrounding lots. In March of 2020, there was also a large tree that fell on the rear of this home and caused substantial damage. And no action has been placed by the city that I'm aware of. From September of 2021 to current, Alton PD has been contacted to remove homeless people and trespassers from the 610 property. The first occurrence was during September of 21, second on December 3rd of 21, and third on January 30th of 22. I don't know if there was miscommunication or if it was properly not secured properly initially, but there's still people coming in and out of this home. If you've secured the property since my calling on January 31st, then I appreciate it. My problem further is this is now becoming a public safety issue to neighboring residents, including St. Mary's and other nearby places of business. If the city cannot manage residents that are in a similar state, I suggest by demolition or rehabilitation, which I know that you guys are trying to work on. But you have the power to levy, ordinance, and to act and uphold the standards that taxpayers expect. The municipality has an obligation to provide a safe environment and to uphold the standard of dignity to the city of Alton itself. I'm afraid the 610 property is past rehabilitation and shows the need to be demolished. Considering this and the safety issues referenced previously, I hope you're able to help by acting on this property soon. If you're able and willing to do so, then I'd be interested in purchasing the vacant parcel and lot and keeping it in an improved and maintained state. I know that the parcel's taxes have been paid by an outside party, and if there's a better course of action by confronting your board, then please advise. The municipality also levies for taxes based on their assigned EAV. If you're able to maintain and take control of properties such as 610 that are in a deteriorated state, then EAV for the city will increase by improving the other surrounding properties' value, increasing the city's second largest source of revenue. By cleaning the city up, commercial and tourist activities will assumedly increase and become more attractive to outsiders. This is a large project since the city has ignored this aspect for years. However, Alton is desperate. Your 19 audit was on file online. You had a negative 40,000 deficient in net pension or net position. You still have a negative deficiency, but any extra income or any conscientious towards budgeting and expenditures will help you get by that. That's pretty well all for today, but shouldn't be giving up on these properties. Just like a business starts deteriorating, you start making improvements and start being more conscientious to your expenses and trying to bring in more revenue. And cleaning up the city, you'd be able to increase your levying power by property values, so I don't want to comment this today, but I've had several issues with this property, and I don't want to keep dealing with people breaking into this home that's so near to mine and school district St. Mary's and other important areas for downtown Alton. I do have some copies here, if anybody.
Can I have a copy, please?
Records.
I'd like to have your-
Information is there.
That's excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lloyd. Number 15, comments or resolutions from the City Council. Alderman Campbell.
I have none this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Alderwoman McAfee.
I have one this evening, Mr. Mayor. It's a resolution authorizing the closure of Broadway to facilitate the Fat Tuesday Survival event. Whereas My Just Desserts has requested that Broadway between Market and Albee Street be closed on Tuesday, March 1st, 2022, from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. to facilitate the Fat Tuesday Survival event, and therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Alton that the Public Works Director, Police Department, Fire Department hereby authorized and directed to effectuate the temporary closure of Broadway between Market and Albee Street on Tuesday, March 1st, 2022, from 5 to 9 to facilitate the Tuesday survival event. My Just Desserts will be responsible for any labor cost incurred by the city as it relates to this event. My Just Desserts is required to submit a certificate of insurance to the City of Alton by March 1st, 2022. I'd like to refer this to the Committee of the Whole. I don't know. That's all I have this evening.
Thank you. Alderman Strable.
I do. Nuisance Ordinance Amendment Resolution. Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Alton, Illinois, that in order to further improve quality of life, maintain order, and to protect the safety of the general public, an amendment to Title IX, Chapter 7, Section 2 is appropriate to place reasonable restrictions on conduct deemed a nuisance while respecting the constitutional rights of all citizens by additions of subsection J, K, and L, which would be prospectively state. J. Aggravated battery as defined as 720 Illinois Compiled Statutes 5/12-3.05. K. Possession, manufacture, or delivery of methamphetamines as defined by the Methamphetamine Control and Community Protection Act in the 720 Illinois Compiled Statute 646/1. L. Violation of the Litter Control Act as defined in the 415 Illinois Compiled Statute 105/6. I'd like to make a motion to refer this to the Committee of the Whole.
Second.
I have one other. Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Alton to consider an amendment to the Section 1, 4, 5, and 6 of Title 4, Chapter 10 of the City of Alton Code of Ordinance and substitute therefore a new chapter named entitled Pawnbrokers and Secondhand Dealers in order to implement a system whereby pawnbrokers and secondhand dealers are required to take the necessary steps to track property and merchandise that they receive with the leads online in order to further the general welfare of the citizens of the Alton. I'd like to refer that to the committee as a whole.
Second.
That is all for me.
Thank you. Alderwoman Brown.
Mr. Mayor, I have a resolution authorizing the execution of a letter of intent between the City of Alton and student athletes leading tomorrow. Whereas the City of Alton is a municipal corporation and a home rule unit of local government pursuant to Article Number 7, Section 6 of the Illinois Constitution of 1790, and whereas the city owns a tract of land commonly known as Rock Springs Park, 2116 College Avenue, which is dedicated to the city for public use. Whereas the mayor and the city council of the city supports efforts to provide the residents of Alton with the use and enjoyment of the premises, and whereas the two southernmost tennis courts at Rock Spring Park require renovations, repairs, and or replacement due to the deteriorated condition of the same, which would require substantial investment from the city of Alton. And whereas Student Athletes Leading Tomorrow, SALT, is a sports-based youth development organization directed toward the local youth and seeks to establish programs that engage children while helping children develop active, healthy lifestyles. And whereas SALT is based in Alton, Illinois, whereas SALT desires to request a grant from Musco Lighting and the U.S. Soccer Foundation, wherein said grant would provide funding to modify the two southernmost tennis courts adjacent to Alton Middle School, which have fallen into disrepair, into the safe places to play. Mini pitch soccer system as set out in Exhibit 8A, which is incorporated herein, the project. Whereas the mayor and the city council of the city approves of the execution of a letter of intent as set out in Exhibit B, which is incorporated herein, to allow for the modification of the Rock Spring Park tennis courts. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Alton, Madison County, Illinois, as follows. Section 1. The City Council hereby approves the letter of intent attached in Section 2. The mayor of the City of Alton shall be and hereby is authorized to execute on behalf of the City of Alton the letter of intent attached hereto. And we do have the director of SALT here. If you have any questions, Mr. Damian Jones, he's over there. Raise your hand, Damian. Yeah, if you have any questions. And this is a great idea. I would like to make a motion to refer this to the committee of the whole.
Second.
That's it? Okay. Alderman Brake?
Yes, I have 4 this evening, Mr. Mayor. Whereas the City of Alton has been granted federal TAP funds for the Safe Routes to School Phase 2 project that consists of removal and replacement of sidewalks at 4 locations, including College Avenue from Holman Street to Johnson Street, Rock Spring Drive from Memorial Drive to College Avenue, Johnson Street from College Avenue to Tremont Street, and College Avenue from Johnson Street to Pleasant Street. These improvements are known as Section 17-0023102 SW, whereas the city must enter into an agreement with the Illinois Department of Transportation in order to use the federal funds for construction of the project. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Alton, Illinois, that the mayor is hereby authorized to execute local public agency agreements for federal participation between the Illinois Department of Transportation and the City of Alton for the above described project, a copy of which is attached hereto. I have a resolution that is a supplemental resolution to the section number that I just read on the main resolution that resolves that the county, the council of the City of Alton, Illinois, the following descriptive streets and structures be improved under the Illinois Highway Code. Work shall be done by contract. The same set of streets as I just read, and be it further resolved that the proposed improvements shall consist of sidewalk removal and replacement, curb ramp upgrades, and other miscellaneous items. A second supplementary resolution to the same aforesaid numbers is that, let's see, be it resolved that City Council of the City of Alton, Illinois, that the following described streets, road structures be improved under the Illinois Highway Code. Work shall be done by contract. Be it further resolved that the proposed improvements shall consist of pavement patching, pavement milling, hot mix asphalt resurfacing, removal and replacement of curb and gutter, removal and replacement of sidewalk, and other miscellaneous items of construction. I refer this group of resolutions, and I have one last resolution that whereas the City of Alton has granted federal TAP funds for the Safe Routes to School Phase 2 projects that consist of removal and replacement of sidewalks at 4 locations, including those names that was mentioned in the above resolutions and amendments. Whereas the engineering service for the construction of the project is responsibility of the City of Alton, and whereas only one qualification statement was received for this project submitted by Shepherd, Morgan, and Schwab Incorporated from Alton, Illinois, the selection committee recommended the engineering services be awarded to Shepherd, Morgan, and Schwab Incorporated. I refer these resolutions to the committee of the whole.
Second.
I haven't signed the ones that will be signed. I'll sign them and get to you after we finish the rest.
Okay. Is that all, sir?
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Alderwoman Elliott
I have nothing this evening, Mr. Mayor.
and Alderman Keener.
Yes, I have a couple here. Resolution for improvement under the Illinois Highway Code. Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Alton, Illinois, that the following described streets be improved under the Illinois Highway Code. Work shall be done by contract. Milton Road from Edgewood Avenue to Hillcrest Avenue. Be it further resolved that the proposed improvement shall consist of an application fee to East-West Gateway Council of Governments for federal funding of the proposed project under the federal STP program. The required fee is 0.5% of the federal funds requested and is refunded if the project is not awarded. That there is hereby appropriated the sum of $2,670 for the improvement of said section from the local public agency's allotment of motor fuel tax funds. Be it further resolved that the clerk is hereby directed to transmit 4 certified originals of this resolution to the district office of the Department of Transportation. A resolution authorizing the authority to apply for Park Commission funds from the Madison County Parks and Recreation Commission. Whereas the City of Alton, Illinois is a municipal corporation and a home rule unit of government pursuant to Article 7, Section 6 of the Illinois Constitution of 1970. And whereas the city proposes to apply for PEP funds for the following projects: Gordon Moore Park sidewalk lights, Hellrun, Killian, Olin, Gordon Moore Park's player benches, Milton Park sidewalk improvements, Rock Springs Park disc golf baskets, and whereas the funding for the project may exceed the actual amount granted from PEP funds in which the city agrees to fund the completion of the project from another source. And whereas the City Council has considered the request and does hereby approve said request, now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Alton, Madison County, Illinois, authorizes the filing of the above listed applications to Madison County in adherence to all applicable rules and regulations of the PEP program. And be it further resolved that the official board of the city hereby directs and designates the mayor to act as authorized representative in connection with the filing of the aforementioned applications and all concurrent meetings and hearings associated with the project approval process. I would like to make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second it.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Campbell.
Aye.
McAfee.
Aye.
Strable.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Brake.
Aye.
Elliott.
Aye.
Keener.
Aye.
7 ayes, no nays, no absent.
Now, I move to approve the 2 previously read resolutions under the suspension of rules.
Second.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Campbell.
Aye.
McAfee.
Aye.
Strable.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Brake.
Aye.
Elliott.
Aye.
Keener.
Aye.
7 ayes, no nays, no absent.
That's
And
all
the
I have.
vote for the suspension of rules, Mayor Goins.
Aye.
That's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Any other comments of the council? See there, no. That's one of
Make
just,
a motion to adjourn.
clerk call the roll? Well, I guess we have to call roll now.
Campbell.
Aye.
McPhee.
Aye.
Strabel.
Aye.
Brown. Brake. Elliott. Keener.
Aye.
Ayes, no nays, no absent.
That's something.
Yeah, no, it took me forever to get it done, I'm sorry.
It's okay. We found it
So
good.
bad, but on my, it was like one of those things that you really have to do.
Sir.
Good, yeah, exciting. Got it?
Billing reward.
So,
Yeah.
Unless it's changed. But the one he's talking about is originally right on across kitty quarter from St. Mary's.
Okay.
There's a wood brick.
I didn't realize. Yeah, well, evidently.
In my world, this means two things.
Not Mr. Deuces. Literally.
Well, yeah, you don't need to sign that one, because I signed that one, so.
Let me know, Frank, let me know about the third thing. Okay. Have a good one. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You turn off the microphone.
No, Bryce was.
Hey, is he related to Gala? Looks like his name is Sam. He's related. He's got the business card for